Good morning from me. My name is Nick Ross, and I have to say that from here, you all look quite normal. Had we been here at this meeting when this beautiful theatre was built, we might have been taken outside, flogged, branded, and had our tongues pierced with a red-hot poker, which was the sort of thing they used to do 350 years ago. And for those of us who take the freedom here in this wonderful academic city to speak out, it's worth bearing in mind, and that's what we will be doing for much of today and certainly for this morning's session. What a long and challenging path it has been to get here, and for many people, how far they have still to travel on that path. When in England, the law decided that it was a matter for the state to prevent blasphemy, it was described thus: for to say religion is a cheat is to dissolve all the obligations whereby the civil societies are preserved. Therefore, to reproach the Christian religion is to speak in subversion of the law. Now, there is a sort of sense in that. Don't rock the boat. And maybe the truth is, it's only possible for us to speak openly as humanists now because so many people in Western Europe, in places like Australia, New Zealand, Canada, have begun to loosen their own affiliations to religion. The last person sent to prison for blaspheming in England was in 1921. The last court case where someone was prosecuted was in 1977, when a moral, as she called herself, campaigner, Mrs. Mary Whitehouse, who detested everything about the modern world, but especially television, and more especially homosexuality, took a magazine published by a gay organization, Gay News, to court. In fact, she lost. So we've got this extraordinary privilege of being able to speak here. We've got three people who don't have that ease, that privilege, all of whom have fought tenaciously in circumstances I think very few of us would be prepared to tolerate. All three will just speak for 5-10 minutes, and then it's open house for you to ask them why they're doing what they're doing. Agnes Ojera is from Uganda. She's been fighting, is the correct word, I think, for women's emancipation, for things against exploitation of children and prostitution and so forth, women's right to dignity and a great deal more besides. Uganda, of course, has had a pretty fraught history since the time of President Idi Amin. Its present president is moving, or has moved increasingly, towards authoritarianism. Aggie, would you like to tell us what you've been doing?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I'm Agnes Ojera from Uganda. In our quest to promote humanism, it's really been very hard.
Aggie, if you speak quite loudly, because I think the microphone is struggling. So if you speak to people right at the back.
Wow. Yes. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, in Uganda, in Helu, I have a slide. If anybody has a problem listening to what I'm saying or my accent, you can always read from right here. And I think the people will help us with this, the promises.
But Aggie, what I think we're going to do, because your slides apparently are after Gulalai's, so first we're going to hear from Gulalai, okay? And then we'll come to you. I'm sorry about that. We didn't know which order the slides were loaded. Gulalai, okay, yeah, I'm going to let you speak for yourself, but started a group called Aware Girls in Pakistan, in one of the most conflicted areas in northwest Pakistan. University in Islamabad, and why, after what could have been a fairly easy life, you've chosen to confront virtually every prejudice in Pakistan in one go, I don't know. Maybe you'd like to tell us.
So before I actually tell you why I started working on women's rights in this very conflicted society, it is important to understand from where do I come, what actually life is in Pakistan. Pakistan, in 1947, Pakistan was basically separated from India on the basis of religion, and that division, which started in 1947, it kept on getting multiplied, and we see its manifestation in the form of hatred and in the form of a non-secular religious state, which make religious policies which promotes intolerance, violence, and discrimination against people. We are now I'm living in a society even if this pen is labeled with Islam, then I cannot touch this pen. I cannot say that this pen is not working because now it is blasphemy. My freedom of speech has become blasphemy, and freedom of expression is blasphemous in that situation. And intolerance, because the Constitution is endorsing, the Constitution and the state is endorsing violence, the society has become so violent that anyone can get up and can kill anyone. Like just 2 weeks ago in Pakistan, 6 people were burnt alive because someone posted something on Facebook which was considered blasphemous. So we have reached to, like you were talking that 350 years ago, we could not have come here and could have talked about humanism. But believe me, even today I live in a country, in a place where even today I cannot talk about humanism, where I cannot talk about what I am thinking, what are my religious thoughts, because by law I can be killed, and anyone can get up and kill me, and the state will remain silent, and by remaining silent, the state is actually endorsing it. And how come this realization started? It was when I was when I was young, and I was like getting education, and my father made sure that I get good education, and we were like studying in one of the good schools of the city, and everyone in my family would tell me, oh, how privileged you are to be educated. While my cousins were getting married at the same age, when I was in 10th grade and 8th grade, and like I was 14 years, 13 years, my cousins at my age, they were getting married, they were having kids, and everyone would tell me how lucky you are. And then I realized that these are very normal things: getting education, being able to travel abroad, being able to speak whatever you want to speak. These are very normal things. These are very basic human rights. But I was told that it is a privilege, and then I realized that yes, for so many young women in my country, for so many girls, it is actually a privilege just to get education and just to dream a life for themselves. Even dreaming a life for yourself is a privilege, and that is why I decided that if I am able to have a life where I can dream for myself, then I have also the responsibility to work towards an environment where other girls can also dream for themselves, where they can realize their dreams and they can exercise their human rights without being told that this exercise of human rights is actually a privilege and not a right. So when I was in school, one of my sister, who is younger than me, and some of my friends, we decided to start a platform where we can mobilize and educate young women. And we decided to start from young women, educating young women about their rights, because we think it is very important to speak up for ourselves. If we girls will not speak up for ourselves, if we will not understand our own rights, then it's very difficult in very patriarchal society where like the society won't give us our rights if we don't speak up for it. So that's why we started working with girls. We started raising awareness among them about what are their rights, how they can negotiate within their families, and then how they can negotiate within their communities with the state. And today I'm working on political empowerment of young women. Today we are working on addressing violence against women. We are working on very sensitive issues which even the big human rights organizations in Pakistan will not like to work on, such as we are working on safe abortion. We are running a hotline on safe abortion to save women's lives and to make safe abortion accessible to women. So we have been working on issues which are considered sensitive even by the human rights organizations in Pakistan.
Now, you've got some slides which show just
I have some slides which are actually pictures from the work I do. So from here, I don't know which slides are there, if there are any slides.
Yes, they're going.
Yeah. But these are some of the pictures from our work. When I started, we were a group of young women who were doing everything voluntarily. We would mobilize, we will educate other young women, and today we are an established organization who are working on in different thematic areas, which aims to empower young women by working directly with young women, by educating them about their rights. But we know that just living in a patriarchal society, it's really difficult for women to work, because like if a man in Pakistan is working, then the men, they are confronting let's say religious extremism. But when women and girls work, we are fighting at two fronts. We have to fight against sexism, patriarchy, and we also have a struggle and fight within our own families for our rights. And then we also have to fight with the society for our rights. So it's really much more difficult for girls to work. So we are working directly with girls, but we are also working towards creating an environment, an enabling environment where girls can exercise their human rights. So we advocate with the policymakers for laws which protect women's rights, such as we were advocating for laws against sexual harassment. We advocated for laws which were discriminatory against women, such as we had this Hudud ordinance law in Pakistan, in which you had to present if a woman is raped, she had to present 4 eyewitnesses of the rape to prove that she was raped. Now this is ridiculous. Like, who will rape you in front of 4 men? And if someone raped you, then these 4 men should also be in the jail. So they shouldn't be witnesses, they are the criminals, and if they were seeing the rape and they weren't doing anything. So we were advocating for repealing those laws. So we have been working at state, advocating with the state, and then also working with the communities. And through our work, we don't mean to say that all men are bad and they are enemies of the woman. I think the whole society is a victim of patriarchy and sexism, and men are getting equally victimized by patriarchy. So it's really important to engage men as well, to sensitize them about the issue and to take them on board, because we are together as a society, we have to change and we have to make the situation better for ourselves. So we're also working with men. So if you may see some men in the slides, I actually think that I am in someone else's presence. You can see some men who are engaged in our program, and one of the program which I really like it is about the political empowerment of women. And I love this program because when I was growing up, I saw that women and girls, they are like, you are told that yes, women are respectable, but why women are respectable? The reason they will give you how they rationalize the respect of women is, women are respectable because they're mothers, because they're daughters, because they're wives, because they're sisters. Nowhere will they say that women are respectable because they're human beings. So they are. And my point is that we are respectable and we deserve human rights because we're human beings, and we also have responsibility towards our community because we're also citizens, we're also equal citizens of our country. So through this political empowerment program, we are engaging young women in active citizenship. They learn about the Constitution, about their rights, how they can work on issues within their communities, how they can engage in politics, in active politics. We arrange dialogues for them with the political parties, so they can directly talk to the political parties about what are their issues and what they want from the political parties. We also organize visits for them to the parliament so that they can see the decision-making process. The very common, though we had Benazir Bhutto, and she was they said that from the Muslim world, she was the first prime minister. But though there are some privileged women like me, who can go extra miles. But then in generally, politics is not considered as a domain of women. So we are engaging, so we take women to the parliament, and there are many girls who also think that no, politics is something really bad and politics is for men because it's about fighting and this and that. So we take these girls to the parliament, and then they see, okay, this is how decision-making process happen, and this is how it impacts us. So once we had 2 sisters in one of our program, and they said on the first day, they said, no, politics is not about women. And then they participated in the whole training, and they learned about the Constitution, about politics, and they went to the parliament where they saw how the sessions and the law making was happening. And they came back and they said, I want to be the Speaker of Assembly. I want to be the next Speaker of Assembly. So that's really empowering when we see how girls who come to our programs, they started realizing that this world belongs to them as well. And because this world belongs to them, they have their rights and responsibilities.
What is so extraordinary is that, oh, please. What is so extraordinary is how easy it is for us to sit and listen to this, and how difficult it must be to say these things in your community. And Aggie, in your case, just as much so. I'm sorry we've sort of interrupted. You were saying you've got slides. Actually, your English is very good, so don't worry about that, and your accent.
All right, thank you very much. Agnes, I work for Uganda Humanists. I work for Humanist Empowerment of Livelihoods in Uganda. It's a CBO, a community-based organization in northern Uganda, and it's the only humanist organization in northern Uganda. So in our process of trying to promote humanism, we decided to start a project that targeted the most vulnerable, and the most vulnerable were the girls, and those are the child mothers in northern Uganda after a 23-year war in northern Uganda that was between the government and the Lord Resistance Army in the north. So it left like a gap of very vulnerable girls who are raped, who are confused by the men in the camps. So these girls, we decided that to get humanism to get people to know about humanism, target the vulnerable, we had to train the girls to learn how to use their own ability to change their lives. Because back in their community, it's about the God, all the gods, you have to believe or believe in them to change your life or change the situation around you. So as Hello, we come up and say, no, you have to use your own ability to change your life. You don't have to relate to a God or believe in God to do that. So in the process of this, we've come through like lots of challenges. And the first is the government that we work in, our government, the policy does not favor humanism. We have, the Ugandan motto is for God and my country. The national anthem is, oh my God, like the first phase is, all Uganda, may God uphold thee. So there is no way that the government is going to favor an organization or support an organization that is against God. So that is really making it very hard. And then two, we are working in a religious-dominated region or country. There have been missionaries that have come through from way back, from ages. These missionaries came in 1800s. So the people in Uganda are deeply rooted into religion. And it's hard to get to them to understand and get them out of that. If you talk about you are not religious, you are considered like, we the humanists are termed as the devil's advocate, because you don't believe in God. So what are you? The first commandment says, according to religion is, according to Christians, there's no any other God, I think, God, whatever. So you come up and you say, I don't believe in God, you're definitely the devil's advocate, because if you don't believe in God, it means you believe in something else. And you're like, no, I don't believe in something else. So that's making us really, then in my quest to promote humanism, I have met non-believers, very many. I had a bar called Soyinka Bar. It's a humanist bar that we started sometime, and I noticed that there's so many non-believers, because right in my society, there's so many born-again Christians where it states that you're not supposed to consume any bit of alcohol. So the non-believers were happy, okay, humanists accept, oh, I can consume some alcohol, so come to the bar, and then we interact, and I hear their views. But they don't want to get related relate to non-believer or be attached to a non-believer organization. They prefer to labor and continue going to church because they don't want to be looked at as evil the way we are being looked at as evil and devil's advocate. So then we have the issue of the tradition and cultures back home. The people are still deeply rooted into their traditions. We have issues where, for example, when you give birth to a twin, there has to be tradition, cultural practice done to cleanse them. So they say if you don't carry out those, it means you are bringing a bad omen, the twins are going to die. Those funny traditional beliefs. Then they have a belief that albinos, different parts from albinos do bring riches. So there is sacrifice of albinos to go to a witch doctor and earn more money from it. Those are funny beliefs we're trying to fight. And then when we're trying to talk to them and tell them these are just beliefs, nothing could happen if you don't cleanse a twin, or if you don't name the twin, the specific names given to twins. If you don't do that, you're going to die. No, we come in and said, no, look at this. Think, reason. Look, you study biology, study science, and you still think because you don't name a twin, given somebody a specific name, they're going to die? How does it affect the organs of the body if you're not given a certain name? So, yeah, so this traditionists look at us as a threat, yeah, and consider us we're violating their traditional practices and against. So
you've got some slides. Do you want to show us? Because
finally.
Yeah, let's see if we can get them.
Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, then in Gulu, because there were very many organizations after the war, these organizations came in with lots of giving people benefits, clothing, foods, and all that. So once you start an organization, everybody is expecting something. And here we are, we're talking about humanism, they're expecting stuff to come through. Like you're not giving them anything, nobody's going to care. They're not going to listen to you. You need to give them something for them to listen. So that's a big challenge in the area that I'm working in. If you're not offering anything, they don't give you a listening ear. And then the issue of dishonesty. I have worked, since we started humanism in Uganda, since the idea came through, I'm not sure who is a humanist and who is not. Because many people come in, for example, my organization, members, they claim they're humanists. They are humanists because they're expecting either to earn, they're expecting money, they're expecting, and then even other colleagues like are humanists in front of the donor. And once the donor is not there, they're back to their tradition and cultures. So it's very difficult to work with people who you don't have the same ideology with. The ideology is there for a very short, limited time, and after that, it's gone, it's vanished, and you're all alone and with very few of us. And we really need to be like lots of us with the same ideology to promote humanism. But if we all go different directions, that's a big challenge, and that's what is going back home. And I think my time is going. Limited resources. Yeah, back home, the reason why tradition, religion. Christianity is moving so fast, and there's so many born-again Christians coming through churches built every day. Christians are injecting cash, and going deep into different communities. While we, the humanists, we are very few, and we have the limited resource to go to very many different areas. Uganda could look small in the map, but it's really large. So Gul is this tiny part that I'm working in, and then I have to go to different locations in northern Uganda. There are other humanist organizations in central doing that part, and I'm dealing with northern. And this involves paying our transport, that. So the reason why we're lagging back is we can't move so fast to get to catch up with religion. And people are into religion because there is lots of cash flowing in, and they know that they can always get something out of that. Then the gross human rights violation back home. You know what's happening in Uganda? The government, which is supposed to be the custodian of law, is actually violating human rights. We have, the most recent laws that were passed in Uganda, the anti-homosexual law, the the public order management bill. Luckily enough, one of them, the anti-homosexual law, recently, last Friday, was declared null and void. And that wasn't because it's a human rights violation. It was because the quorum wasn't enough for it to be, So we expect that the government is still going to come up and bring it up, and definitely it will be signed. One of the reasons that was signed is because the government has its own interests, and it's mainly religiously driven. The First Lady owns lots of churches. This is not, and there is no way you're going to expect her husband not to sign a law that the president will have to sign something that is against religion, because the wife is there and it's like, yes, it has to be done. And then because when the government passes these laws, we are laid back because it causes tension in the community. And it's very hard to now go against what the government has pushed through, though we have to stand up and face it and do it. That is why we say very many people have come up to try and fight those human rights violations. But at the end of that day, some people say, in Uganda, there is freedom of speech, but there's no freedom after speech. Thank you very much.
Asif is from Bangladesh, living in Germany now for reasons that I think will become apparent. For those of you who don't know Asif, he's a blogger whose themes tend to revolve around things like freedom of expression and trying to stay free after speech, oppression of women, which is obviously a common theme across this, religious-based politics and Sharia law, homosexual rights and so forth. In fact, he spent much of his adult life doing pretty much everything that would infuriate religious zealots. Asif, the floor is yours.
Hello, I'm Asif Mohiuddin from Bangladesh. I'm not a very good speaker. I can write blogs, but not a speaker, actually. I don't have even a slide.
We're rather relieved about that, actually.
Last few days I was in Bangladesh and I was working for 300 prisoners. They are in prison for 20 years, and according to law they should be released, but nobody cares about them. So I was working for them, so I couldn't make my slides or PowerPoint presentation, so sorry for that. Anyway, I write about humanism, I write about atheism, I criticize Islam and other religions, and especially the religious books like Quran and Hadith and Bible. I support human rights, I support women rights, I support LGBT rights, and nowadays Bangladesh become more and more a dangerous place for the people who write in blogs. Last year, many of our bloggers and secular activists were attacked by Islamic political parties because we had a protest against the Islamic political party, Jamaat-e-Islam, and that was a huge protest against the political parties. More than 100,000 people were in the streets against Islamic political parties, and I was one of the organizers of that protest. After that, government put me in the jail, and I was in the jail for 3.5 months. I came here from Bangladesh, and I was supposed to be here one day earlier, but immigration police stopped me because I'm an atheist and I criticize Islam.
They stopped you in Europe, or they stopped you in Bangladesh?
In Bangladesh.
Yeah.
And they asked me many questions, why I'm an atheist and why I support gay rights. They told me, if you're a gay, why you are an atheist, you want to have sex with men, so why you are an atheist? Bangladesh police, they are very stupid and they don't have any idea about atheism or human rights. So they always ask stupid questions, and they stopped me for 2 hours, and I saw my flight is gone that time. Then I had to take the next flight. Somehow I came here. I told you I write about human rights and women rights, and in 2011, I wrote a blog about against a law that was the increasing fees, semester fees in public universities, and that time police also arrested me for 18 hours, and I was in police custody. They tortured me physically and mentally. I organized a protest in the street that time. That was with the students of the public universities. The law says that the student of public universities have to give 10 times higher semester fees. And that time also police asked me many questions about my blogs, why I'm an atheist, and why I criticize the religion, Quran and Hadith. It is very bad, it is not very accepted in Bangladesh. You know the story of Taslima Nasrin. She also suffered in Bangladesh. Now she is living in abroad. I don't know being an atheist is a crime or not. I guess not. I cannot believe. I don't believe something, and I can write about that. I don't believe that. But in Bangladesh, there is a law named ICT Act 57 law. It says that if anyone writes something against Islam or the Prophet or the Quran, the punishment is 7 to 14 years in prison. Even if you write a simple blog post or a Facebook status against this Quran and the Prophet and Islam, that can be the punishment. So nowadays it become very dangerous for the bloggers. Most of our bloggers, they are very afraid. I'm writing for this is for 9 years. I'm writing blogs. Nowadays we have a huge community, huge atheist and humanist peoples in Bangladesh. More than 20,000 people we have. But now they are very afraid of the police, especially the police and the government. Our government said that they are secular government, but they are not actually secular. And of course, we are afraid of the religious political parties, especially Jamaat Islam and Hizb ut-Tahrir and other Islamic political parties. I was attacked several times. Last year, I was attacked very brutally, and I was very near to death, but somehow I survived. And the most interesting thing is, when I was in prison, I met my attackers. They recognized me and they told me, "Oh, Asif, how are you?" I said, "Yes, I'm fine. Who are you?" And they said, "Oh, we attacked you a few months ago." Then we had a good conversation about. I asked them, "Why you attacked me? What is the reason behind this?" They told me, "Oh, it is our religious duty. According to our hadiths, you left Islam, so you have to be killed." So I said, "Oh, don't you think it is nonsense?" And they said, "No, it is good for us. It is good for Islam." Then I offered them some food, and we had a good discussion. And but I don't think he's actually guilty. He's a criminal. I don't think so. I saw he's an innocent boy of 21 years old. He was 21 years old. And I think he was brainwashed, and he is from the madrasa, the Islamic education system. And
The
nowadays,
madrasas are the religious schools?
yeah, Islamic education system it is. And in India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, we have madrasas. And in Bangladesh, now 4 million students are the student of madrasas. And I call madrasa the production house of terrorism. And most of the people who goes to madrasa, they are from very poor families, and they don't have any food, they don't have any education. So the families send their children to the madrasas. And the madrasa teachers, they are funded by Middle Eastern countries, especially Saudi Arabia. And they sponsor the madrasa to make the terrorist and the fundamentalist. So I think that they are not actually the criminals. They are just brainwashed, and if we give them proper education and proper knowledge, they will be, if they born in Europe, in Britain or in Germany, they would be very nice person. They would have very polite person. But because they're born in Bangladesh, that is not their fault. And there's the student of the madrasa, that is also not their fault. So they become fundamentalist, and they become very fanatic about their views, and they don't accept other views, and they just want to kill the other people. So I don't think they are actually guilty. And yes, I'm also fighting against the Sharia law and the Islamic education system. I'm writing against the Islamic education system. I think this is the main, this is the root of all evil, all religious fanaticism. So yes, I hope we can do something for that. But Bangladesh, nowadays, Bangladesh becoming more and more Islamic, and the international politics, they are creating pressure on Bangladesh to become more and more Islamic. Bangladesh was a secular country in 1971. We separated from Pakistan, and that time Bangladesh was very secular. But day by day, we are becoming very Islamic. And nowadays, I went to Bangladesh, and at that time I saw the textbook. They are changing the textbook to more Islamic. The textbook of the students, the little students in the primary level, they are changing the textbooks, and the book says now that Allah is one and Muhammad is the prophet. And before that, that was other things. But nowadays, it is becoming more Islamic. And the education system is our priority. if we cannot change the education system, we cannot do anything. And yes, of course, we had some major philosophers like Humayun Azad, like Ahmad Sharif, like Arojali Matubbar. I should tell you about something about Arojali Matubbar. He was a philosopher from the village, and he was not educated. And he wrote some books, and that book changed many people's mind, and many people are very inspired about Mr. Arojali Matubbar. Now they becoming an atheist or a secularist, and especially I should tell you about Taslima Nasrin. She is also one of our heroes, so Bangladesh is not a very fanatic Islamic country. We have a long tradition of secularism. We were nowadays, each and every month we saw that there are attacks on women, attacks on religious minorities, attacks on indigenous people, and but that was not the actual Bangladesh. I hope Bangladesh will be a very secular and very progressive country someday, but we are fighting for that.
I wonder if all three of you aren't slightly crazy. It's all very well, and I keep coming back to this, to say these things here in the Sheldonian in Oxford. All of you are at risk. You're at risk from your police, you're at risk from your communities, you're at risk of physical violence. In your case, you've been beaten within an inch of your life, you've been put to prison. Is that just something in your personality? Is that because of your belief in humanism is so strong? I mean, why? Why do you do it?
When I saw my attacker, I feel pity on him. I was very sad that time. That I saw that he's a very innocent boy. He's not a murderer. He's not a criminal.
But the point is, Asif, there are lots of other people like that who next time might take the attack even further and might kill you. But it doesn't stop you now. Why?
Because they are my people. I cannot I cannot hate them. Yes, they have a different point of views, but I don't think hate will change anything.
Well, I wish that were true. I think history teaches that hate can change a lot of things, and hate often wins out. Do you think you are winning, or are you just, is it an almost impossible task? It's just like taking a sandy beach apart, grain of sand by grain of sand.
I know that we are in a very difficult situation, but I believe that change is possible, and someone has to do it. Then why not me? Why not us? So we are starting that change so that we know that we are living in a difficult situation, but if we keep on picking even that sand particles, then a time will come when we will be more young people, or more people will be with us, and we will be able to change the situation. So there should be a start, and I think we are taking the starting point, because if all of us keep on saying that no, it's not possible or it's difficult, and no one will do it, so it will become worse. And one of from Pakistani perspective, that human rights defenders and people who are speaking out, they are now in more hostile situation. The threats have increased to them. But why we are under threat, why the extremists are attacking us, the primary reason for attacks on human rights defenders and people who are speaking out is to silence them. So if we become afraid, and if we self-censor ourselves, then it's our death. It's anyways our death, because if you're not speaking, then we're not changing the situation, and they have already achieved their goals. My own family was just 2 months back, while I had already decided that I was coming to the conference. But I was also like from last 3 years, I have been working on countering extremism and preventing young people from joining militant groups. But besides working with young people, I'm also advocating with the state to change their policies which promote extremism, such as changing education, their foreign policy, and their and also changing policies about their vested interest. And for that, I become one of the target of the agencies of Pakistan, of the state agencies. My family was harassed, like the state agencies would come on daily basis to our home. They will harass my family for 3 to 4 hours on daily basis. And then we were 2 months before my family was attacked because I was speaking out, because I was working with young people. My whole family was attacked, and then we had to relocate. But it didn't reduce the passion. It didn't affect it. In fact, it increased the passion, and it increased my commitment to the work, because now I believe that it is much more important work, because it is threatening. The work has already started threatening extremists, and that's why they feel that I am bringing a difference. And if I'm bringing a difference, it means that now I have to do it with more force. I have to do it now.
I get the impression your family is supporting you, and it was intriguing that your father, who must have been quite a liberal attitude in his own right, because he sent you unusually for this education. So your family is behind this, is that right?
Yes, my family is very supportive, and I have been able to achieve and to realize my dreams because my family is supportive, and especially my father, who, when I was in school, this is one of the reasons that I'm working on freedom of expression, because when I was in school, my father was sent into jail, and he spent a whole month in jail because he said that Pakistan as a state should not be engaged in terrorism. And it was considered as blasphemy, and he fought his case for 7 years, and those were tough 7 years for our family. Like, my father was in jail because he spoke his mind, and then he was in jail. And we were afraid that he might be sentenced to death. Everyone, like my father's friends, would call it our home, and they will tell my mother, "We are very sorry that your husband is in jail, and he might face death penalty, because in Pakistan for blasphemy there is death penalty. So we are very sorry for you." So it affected my childhood. Like, being a child, when you see that your family is under pressure, is facing this kind of situations only for speaking up. So it was that moment that I realized that we have to work for it, because how many fathers would go to jail? How many girls, how many men they will go and die in jail only because they're speaking up? And luckily, my father is here today listening to me. He's also in the Congress, by the way. So I'm very
Aggie, having family support like that is pretty blessed. What about your own family?
When it comes to humanism, of course, none of them is, as in not humanism, as in not believing in a God, none of them is behind me in that. She's so lucky. Yeah, like you said, it's gradual. Humanism, it's going to be gradual in Uganda, slow. Just like Christianity came in, and very many people were murdered, to a point we said they celebrate Martyrs' Day in Uganda. So it's the same thing that's going to be with humanism. It's going to take time. The main issue is we have to just try and get a group of people who are into the ideology of humanism. Then we can move, and of course we'll take over someday. Yes.
I suppose we ought to bear in mind that there are many religious people who also share very liberal values. There are very liberal Christians, very liberal Muslims, Hindu, who would be trying to do some of the things that you are trying to do. It's not an exclusively humanistic approach that you're taking, is it?
Yeah, of course. We have many friends. They are also bloggers, and they are very. They call themselves moderate Muslims, and I support them because in our tradition we had a long tradition about Sufism. So Sufism is not very bad Islam. I think it is good for the people. People can believe. I don't have any problem with the believers or the Muslim people. They, of course, they can believe whatever they want to believe. But if they want to believe the Arabian culture, the like burqa and the Sharia law, I have problems with them. But the Sufi Islam, Sufism, and the other Islam, I think that is quite nice. I don't have any problem with that.
And presumably in Uganda, there are Christians who are liberal Christians who would support many of the things that you support, women's emancipation and so forth.
No, when it comes to issues of human rights, we have great support. Issues of human rights, that's why we have support right now from very many different organizations. When it comes to Christians, Muslims, we have the same values. Like, the only difference is just one issue of a supernatural power only. That's where we don't agree. But others, yes, we do. That's why the government has not yet closed the humanist organization there. Because I'm sure if we went through and were only looking at the issue of God or gods, I'm sure the First Lady would order for our organizations to be closed because she's born again and she has many churches. Yeah, so I think when it comes to promoting human values, we are very many and right there.